Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining today. So it's my pleasure to introduce part one of our multi-part webinar series featuring Marketplace. Today, we are going to be presenting an introduction into Marketplace with an AMA at the end with our product team on how to accelerate modern app development with Marketplace one-click apps. So just a quick intro on our speakers today. My name is Betty Candle. I lead partner enablement and go-to-market for the DigitalOcean Marketplace. We also have Karan to my left, who manages developer relations and communities for our India office. And we have John Gannon, who is our lead product manager for Marketplace and ecosystem initiatives. And for today's agenda, I'll kick off with a quick intro on Marketplace, and then we'll dive right into the live demos just to show you how easy it is to launch one-click apps. And for those developers who might be interested in getting your app listed in Marketplace, feel free to ask your questions in the chat window anytime during the session, and we'll try to get to those as quickly as possible. But know that we will also be hosting a dedicated webinar on how to get started as a vendor in our next series. And then next, John will give us a sneak peek into the roadmap and share all of the new and exciting features we have on offer. And finally, we'll open up the AMA to give everyone an opportunity to get your questions answered. And just as a reminder, this will be a recorded session, so we will be posting a playback link that will be available on demand on YouTube following this presentation. Next. So here at DigitalOcean, one of our core values is centered around community love and fostering the developer community to enable and build out the tech ecosystem. Today, we have over 500,000 active customers with 3.5 million developers in our global community. And our vision has always been to empower those developers to build and scale modern cloud infrastructures using open source technologies. Our second core value is focused on simplicity at scale. And unlike other cloud providers, we've always focused on the entrepreneurs, the hobbyists, the SMBs, the students, and early innovators in giving them access to simple to use building blocks for any user, regardless of skill set, to enable them to jumpstart their business. And our goal is always to simplify cloud computing and development so that developers and their teams can offload the DevOps overhead and spend more time innovating with software. And we enable that by focusing on a few key tenets. One, we want to make learning accessible to everyone. And we're proud to say that today we have over 2,100 tutorials. We have over 3.5 million monthly unique visitors to our community resource site. And last year in 2018, we saw over 28 million unique visitors visiting our community tutorials. And of all of our active customers, over 80% of them today are actively using tutorials. So we're really, really pleased to see this level of engagement and support from our community. So thank you all. We also want to make it very, very easy for you to build your application so that once you have an idea or concept, you're able to go into production as quickly as possible. And lastly, of course, once you're ready to scale, we want to be right there with you to help you scale reliably. So with that vision in mind, we created a marketplace of easy to use one-click apps across the most widely used categories for app development. We launched the marketplace on March 5th with 40 one-click apps, and today we have over 60 apps across developer tools, frameworks, blogs and forums, databases, monitoring, and functions. Some of our newest modern app vendors include Acra for security and compliance in the cloud, VitalPoints for IoT device management, and NKN for blockchain network connectivity protocols. A few of these are provided by DigitalOcean, but by and large, most of them are from our community. And if you haven't had the opportunity to check out Marketplace yet, just go to marketplace.digitalocean.com. And there you can browse through our entire online catalog. You can search by topic or by interest, by app name or by category, and just really have fun exploring the marketplace. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into the demos, and I'll hand it off to Karan.
All right, thanks, Betty. Hi, everyone. This is Karan here, and like how Betty introduced, I manage developer relations and community programs for DigitalOcean in India. So before we start off with the demos of the one-click apps, let's start off with what a typical tech stack for modern app development looks like. So if you take a typical application, you would need a web server and some sort of a framework where you would get started, a database and other things. So in this example, we'll be using the Open Lightspeed Node.js web server as a framework with Node.js enabled. We'll be using the Hasura GraphQL engine, which will connect to a Postgres database. And to manage all of these deployments, you can use something like the Cloudbees Jenkins distribution, which is a tool for continuous deployment. And to monitor your application, you can use something like a tick stack. So in case your application or your business has like a like a blog, you can use something like a Ghost, and there might be some parts of your application which might need functions as a service, in which case we're going to look at OpenFaaS. So we're going to quickly look at demos of a few of these applications and how easy they are to get started on the DigitalOcean marketplace. So starting firstly, we have a Cloudbees Jenkins distribution, which is a really highly dependable and a secure Jenkins environment, which matches the recently supported Jenkins release. So as a part of this distribution or a one-click app, you also have the Beekeeper upgrade assistance, which works in tandem with the Cloudbees assurance program, which monitors all of the plugins that you install with Jenkins for potential issues and ensures that it's safe and secure for your service to be using Jenkins and along with your other environment plugins. So let's quickly dive into it and take a look at the demo. So this is, the marketplace, which is accessible via the marketplace.digitalocean.com or even through the cloud control panel on DigitalOcean. So as you can see, there are various different application categories like developer tools, blocks and forums, or frameworks, etc. You can take a look at them out here as well, or even see which are some of the staff picks and some other resources. So I'm going to quickly start off by searching on the marketplace, and I'm going to just look at Jenkins, and I see the Cloudbees Jenkins distribution. So this is what a listing for a one-click app on the marketplace currently looks like, where you can see that this is the Cloudbees Jenkins distribution, which is by Cloudbees. And also it's the latest version, which has been built on Ubuntu 18.04. You can see a quick description of what this one-click is and what are some of the typical inclusions. And also you can see the software included, which comes as a part of this one-click image. In this case, it's the Cloudbees Jenkins, the latest version under the Cloudbees license, and also the Apache. So there is also a getting started after deploy, which usually either gives instructions on what you can and have to do to get started after creating this one-click app, or links to a specific quick start guide that the community or DigitalOcean has put together, depending on who is managing the one-click app. So there's also instructions on how you can go about creating this one-click app using the API. On the right side, you can also see support details as to who do you reach out to and who is offering support for this one-click app. In this case, the one-click app is supported by Cloudbees, and you can seek for support by visiting the specific URL or by sending an email to this email address. So let me go ahead and quickly create a Cloudbees Jenkins distribution droplet simply by clicking on this button. This will take me to my DigitalOcean Cloud Control Panel. I'm already logged into my account, so it takes me onto the page. And since this is a CI/CD server, I might want to use a general purpose droplet, which is a high performance virtual machine with a good balance of memory and dedicated hyperthreads. So I'm going to choose the $60 per month machine. I wouldn't add backups at this point in time. I'm going to choose the New York 3 data center region and just use my SSH key. So I'm going to quickly name this as my CI/CD server Cloudbees Jenkins. This is the default project I'm on, and I'm hit on create. So the server is getting created with the one-click image, and as you can see, it's very typical of creating just a normal droplet, which will take around 55 seconds. It takes around the same time when you're creating an image using any of the one-click apps. So if you were to do this without a one-click app, you typically might have to go to the guide of, say, Cloudbees or any other one-click app and follow through a lot of the manual steps, like first creating a droplet, having your Ubuntu 18.04 ready, securing it, updating your Debian package repositories, pulling the repo, and having it started. So using a one-click app on the DigitalOcean Marketplace does all of this for you and more. So let's go back, and there it is. My Cloudbees Jenkins server is ready. I'm going to quickly grab the IP address of this and go to my terminal. And there is, just quickly restart a new session. I hope my terminal window is visible, and I'm going to SSH into this newly created server. I'm going to accept the fingerprint, and the droplet is getting ready. We might have to give it a few seconds just for the network to come up. All right, there it is. So the message of the day gives you usually all of the required details that you would need. So typically it includes your initial admin password for Cloudbees Jenkins, and also where can you find the password and where can you start configuring it. So in this case, it is the IP address itself, and my initial admin password can be viewed in this file. I can just do a cat and then get it. So I'm going to quickly go back to the IP address, which is already there on my clipboard, and try accessing that. So you can also see that this comes with a self-signed SSL certificate. You can use your own certificate if you require. So I'm going to just proceed as of now. And there I go. So I would have my Cloudbees Jenkins distribution, which is ready with the UI. I can go ahead and grab the password. There is my admin password, which I can get in order to unlock my Jenkins Cloudbees distribution. And once that's done, it will take me to the setup wizard for Cloudbees Jenkins. So this effectively has set up my whole Cloudbees Jenkins distribution. You can use either a license key or just get a free license for this product by activating Cloudbees Jenkins distribution by providing a few details. So I'm going to skip this for now because this process and the setup wizard will remain very similar based on what type of setup that you would need for your Jenkins environment. So it's as simple as creating a one-click, a droplet, and going ahead with the setup wizard and configuring. So let's move on to the next one-click app that we have over here, which is the Open Lightspeed Node.js. So as a part of this one-click app, you automatically have the Performance Web Server Open Lightspeed, Node.js, and also the NPM package manager, and also Acme client protocol, which is already installed. So Open Lightspeed gives you a really good performance and also is compatible with Apache rewrite rules. So if you're using something like Apache, you can easily port over a lot of your applications to Open Lightspeed and use your mod rewrite rules as well. So let's quickly take a look at creating an Open Lightspeed one-click image as well. So I'm gonna just go back into my marketplace out here, and I'll look for Open Lightspeed, or maybe Node.js, and I can see Open Lightspeed Node.js, and there's even an Open Lightspeed Django if you're using a Python application. As you can see, these are all the packages which come within the image, and there's the usual API creation, and this is supported by Lightspeed technologies. So I'm going to go ahead and create an Open Lightspeed Node.js droplet, very similar to how I've created the Cloudbees Jenkins distro. So this will be a web server. So I'm going to again use a general purpose droplet, but you can use any of the droplets as long as it's supported by the image, standard, general purpose, or even CPU optimized droplets. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a general purpose droplet. Keep everything else the same, add my SSH key, and I would want to call it as web server Open Lightspeed, and hit on create. So similarly, it's going to take just around 55 seconds for this to be up. And again, if you were to go back and configure all of this by yourself, you would have to go back into any of the Open Lightspeed configuration options, add the official package repositories, install it, install PHP, and also get started by starting the server. So all of this is done in a very easy way. So it's not just something which will help you one time while you're creating the server, but it's also very, very useful if you have to spin up multiple droplets with the one-click app in case you want to create more of a highly available setup. So here is my Open Lightspeed server, which is ready. And similarly, I'm going to just log out from the Jenkins server, get back into the Open Lightspeed server, and hopefully the network should be up soon. It's going to take a few more seconds for this to come up. And all right, there we go. So the message of the day again includes that there's the one-click Open Lightspeed Node.js server. You can see that firewall D is enabled and all the other ports are blocked. You also can see a sample node site which is put up, the web admin password, and also it says that you have to configure your domain for WordPress to work properly. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this by now, just hitting Control C. So if I go back into the IP address of this, back into my browser, I should be able to see the sample Node.js, which is configured, which says hello world from Open Lightspeed Node.js. So this is a sample Node.js application that comes, or a sample Node.js page, which comes up as a part of the one click. You can start adding in your own Node.js packages and other NPM packages while getting through with this. So that's as simple as getting started with installing Open Lightspeed, Node.js, NPM, and Acme.sh as well. So now we have our Jenkins environment, a server for Jenkins environment, and Open Lightspeed web server with Node.js setup. Let's look into how we can have our backend set up and ready. So we'll just quickly take a look at the Hasura GraphQL. So the Hasura GraphQL is again a GraphQL engine which is supported and maintained by Hasura, and this also comes as a part of the DigitalOcean Marketplace. So let's again go back into our marketplace and create a Hasura GraphQL one-click app. So as you can see, there's a description about it with Hasura GraphQL. They've also included a demo video of how you can get started. It comes with Hasura GraphQL engine, sample Postgres database, Caddy, Docker, Community Edition, and also Compose. So, excuse me. So this gives you more details around how you can get started. After deploying, this will be available on the message of the day as well. And this is supported by Hasura. So let me go and create a Hasura GraphQL droplet as well. So creation of this one-click app, many of these one-click apps is possible even through your usual create droplet page. So while on the create droplet page, you can go into the marketplace tab where you can select whichever is the one click that you want to spin up, followed by the plans, and continue with your usual flow of creating a droplet. So I'm going to go back and create a Hasura droplet over here, which is already selected for me. And I'm going to choose the basic, the starter instance, $5 per month droplet, and get it in Singapore, have my SSH key added, and I'm going to call this as GraphQL server Hasura. And this will spin up the GraphQL engine for me. And I can also go back and look at the docs over here. So if I were to go back and create a GraphQL engine all by myself without a one-click app, and if I were to use something like Docker or Kubernetes, I have to run through a lot of scripts, a lot of manual setup and configuration, which by large would remain the same however you were using it. So this is something which is really simplified by using the DigitalOcean one-click app on the marketplace. So this should be up soon, and once it's up, we'll SSH into it and take a quick look at what the message of the day says and how we can get started with GraphQL engine. Let's give it a few more seconds. Meanwhile, I would also like to remind you that if you have any questions which come up, either related to Marketplace itself or the demos, please feel free to ping them on the chat window, and we'll take them up during the Q&A. So I'm going to go back, well, log out of the Open Lightspeed server and SSH into my newly created GraphQL server. So as you can see, the message of the day says the UFW firewall is enabled, and also the Hasura console is available, and also there are more details and more links which are there. So let me just go into the console for the GraphQL engine and see what's in it there. I think it would take a few more seconds, and all right, there the console is there. So as you can see, this doesn't have any credentials or access token setup, so you can see this readily available. But once you have your access tokens set up and ready, you can use this from the console or even from your GraphQL SDKs. So also let's go into the message of the day and see what the Hasura one-click quick start guide says. So there's a URL out here, which I can go and check out. So this again points me into creating a Hasura one-click droplet. And there's also a button out here which you can use to create the Hasura GraphQL droplet quickly. And these are pretty much the same demo instructions or the demo which I had shown out here. So you can also note that you can use this not just with the Postgres database which comes already installed, but you can use this with DigitalOcean managed Postgres database as well. You just have to grab the connection details and the connection string after you have created the Postgres managed database on DigitalOcean, and just change it in the Docker Compose YAML file, and your GraphQL engine will start connecting into the managed Postgres database. So let's quickly take a look at these three other one-click apps, and we'll create all of them together and then see how that works. So you can use even Ghost, which is an open source platform for building and running a modern blogger application. In case your business has a blog, which you would want to maintain by yourself. There's also an InfluxDB tick stack, which includes Telegraph, InfluxDB, Chronograph, and Capacitor. This can be typically used to monitor your application or anything else, manage your infrastructure or anything else that you would want to keep your eyes on. So there's a really good monitoring stack, which is used for a lot of purposes for application level monitoring or even infrastructure level monitoring. And you can even quickly create an OpenFaaS droplet, which will help you build serverless functions with Docker and Kubernetes, and also deploy your serverless applications onto OpenFaaS. So let's quickly go back and create these three droplets using the marketplace. So I'm going to first start with a ghost. I'll create a ghost droplet, and like how you can see, this image is managed by DigitalOcean. So like Betty mentioned in her initial introduction, a few of the images are managed by DigitalOcean, whereas largely many of the applications are managed by the community. So this is one such image which is managed by DigitalOcean. So I can go and create a ghost droplet, and I can choose my basic $5 per month. I'll keep everything else the same, add my SSH key, and I'm going to say blog server ghost. And while this is getting created, I'm going to go back and also create my InfluxDB tick stack. So I'm going to search on the marketplace tick stack, and I'm going to hit on create InfluxDB tick stack droplet, which will take me back again into the control panel. And I'm going to choose a general purpose droplet for this, keep everything else the same, add my SSH key, and I'm going to say monitoring server tick stack and create on this droplet. And for my next droplet, which is my OpenFaaS, I'm going to do create droplets and go to marketplace, and I can see OpenFaaS out here. I'm going to choose OpenFaaS on Ubuntu 18.04. Use a general purpose droplet, keep everything else the same. I can even add block storage, add backups, pretty much anything that you can do with a droplet. Choose my SSH key, and I'm going to say functions OpenFaaS and create this as well. So as this is coming up, I would also like to show you around how the creation of this might take time. So if I were to go and install and configure the tick stack myself, I have to go back and install and configure each of the individual components, that is Telegraph, InfluxDB, Chronograph, and Capacitor individually, whereas by using the one-click app, all of this is installed and configured and even put into a running state for you. The similar case with Ghost. So when you go into how to install Ghost on Ubuntu, you can see the instructions for setting up the server, or more easier, you can just go and say create with the DigitalOcean one-click application. Similarly with OpenFaaS, wherein you have multiple ways of setting this up through Docker image or even by Git cloning it and building it from source. So I'm going to go back and then see, and all of my servers out here are ready. Let me quickly SSH into my Ghost server. I'm going to log out of the GraphQL server and SSH into my Ghost server, which is running the Ghost block platform. And this performs a few configurations once you launch the server. And you need to have a few things ready, which is your domain information and other things to point into Ghost. So I'm gonna not go into that step right now. Um, there you go. So Ghost will prompt you for your domain, which is already pointed to the server IP, and also your email address. So I will exit out of this, but you can go ahead and configure these as and when you are setting it up. So I'm going to log out of my Ghost server and get back into my tick stack. So let me SSH into my tick stack server, which is my monitoring server. So I can see that the tick stack is, this is the message of the day. UFW is enabled, and most of the ports, most of the one-clicks will have SSH, HTTP, and HTTP S sometimes if it applies enable. Rest of the other ports are blocked. There's also a quick start guide which you can use. And also the important thing, you can see that InfluxDB is already running on port 8086. Chronograph is running on port 80, and also it says where can I find my admin password out here. So just to give you an example of how this will speed up things, let me show this for you, where I'll quickly create a chronograph dashboard. So I'm going to go into my chronograph instance, which is running on my TechStack server. I'm going to say get started. It says 8086 connection, username is admin, and I'm going to grab my password for InfluxDB out here. Let me just do a cat, and here is my InfluxDB password. We are not using Telegraph as of now to collect data and push it into InfluxDB. We're just setting up Chronograph to add. So I'm just adding, and then it says connected to InfluxDB successfully. I'm just going to add a quick system dashboard just to give me information about my server. I'm going to create the dashboard. I won't add any capacitor connections out here. So capacitor is used for alerts. You can configure alerts based on the time series metrics or anything else that you're collecting through Telegraph and into InfluxDB. I'm going to skip it for now. And there we go. Chronograph is all set up, connected to InfluxDB. And I can just go into dashboards. I should have a system dashboard, and there we go. The data has already started flowing in from my server, which I've already created, and where I've started TechStack. So getting Chronograph up and running, connecting with InfluxDB is so very simple and easy. Within just less than a few minutes, I have all of this set up to give me some basic monitoring details. I can add more from this and also configure alerting for capacitor. So the last thing which I'm going to demo and show is also OpenFaaS. And this is functions. So for those of you who are looking at running some of the serverless kind of applications, can make use of the famous OpenFaaS framework. So I'm going to SSH into my OpenFaaS droplet. And it's starting the OpenFaaS configuration. As I can see, this has the SSH port 80 and 443, which is open. So I'm going to just say get started. So it's going to start initializing, creating the Docker swarm, running a manager node, and also pulling in the OpenFaaS repos from the upstream. Based on the configuration within the one-click app. So it's going to take a few seconds until this is done. And then I will have my OpenFaaS droplet ready for deploying into my functions. So as you can see, most of the one-click apps have the message of the day, which is really useful in case you want to get back after configuring your server into knowing which ports are accessible, or where do I find more information from. As it says, once you've configured your server, if you want to delete the message of the day, you can delete it as well. So it's going to take a little, while for this to go on. But once it's configured, you can get back into the OpenFaaS UI, which is also available through the one-click app, and get going. So just to give you a quick overview of what we have covered so far, we have spun up 6 different droplets in a very short span using the one click, set up a Jenkins environment which I can use to create my pipelines and have my build through the CI/CDs, and also have set up an open Lightspeed Node.js server where I can deploy my Node.js applications. I can have my Node.js application make use of a GraphQL query which connects to the GraphQL Hasura engine on the one-click droplet, which can connect to, say, a managed Postgres database on DigitalOcean. I can also have and create a host droplet which can run my blog. I can have and monitor my entire application stack using an InfluxDB tick stack. And for some use cases within my application, I can use an OpenFaaS droplet which I have deployed, and have my applications make use of the functions which I've deployed over there. So all of this, which we have done in a very short span, have all of this configured in a multiple droplets using one-click apps. So those, were around the demos. Let's quickly see if my OpenFaaS droplet is up, or it's taking some more time. It's taking some more time. We'll see if this is, configured and ready for a quick demo later on. But moving on. Next, over to a quick overview of what the roadmap for the DigitalOcean Marketplace looks like. So I would like to bring in John Gannon, who's the product manager for the Marketplace ecosystem out here. So over to you, John.
Thanks a lot, and thanks everyone for attending the webinar. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to being able to share more about the Marketplace as we grow and as we learn. So if we go to the next slide, I want to walk you through exactly where we are with the Marketplace today and where we plan to take things. So if you take it at a really high level, in a Marketplace, what we're really trying to do is pair up applications and application vendors with the developers that are within the DigitalOcean community, and really be a platform for them to connect and really work together in a variety of ways. For us, it's really not just about how do we get a third-party application to run on a droplet. It's really about how can we help our customers be more successful, and also the vendors and the open source projects that are in the Marketplace, how do we help them connect with the developers and the users and the companies that they're trying to connect with as well. So with all that being said, let me talk specifically about where we are today and where we're going. So if you start at the bottom of this slide, we have the little arrow, you are here, and this is really what we have today, right? So if you go to marketplace.digitalocean.com today, or you go to the Marketplace tab in Cloud, you can see that we've got a variety of applications. There are over 40 different one-click applications with, as you saw today, lots of different details, the ability to spin up those one-click apps really quickly. What we want to do is very soon, in the next couple of months, start to add in some additional functionality that benefits the vendors and open source projects that are on the Marketplace, as well as DigitalOcean users and developers. And those two things that we're calling V2.0, if you will, are our vendor portal and a way for our vendors to really manage their listing on our Marketplace in a very kind of automated, hands-off sort of way. So giving them a place they can log in, change their listings, add new apps, do all these sorts of things. Further on down the road, giving them the ability to have detailed analytics about how their applications are performing, how their applications are being used, and things like that. The second big thing that we want to begin to really bring out to you as developers is taking the marketplace and using it as a way for you to find the best of breed Kubernetes solutions that you want to run on top of your DigitalOcean Kubernetes clusters. So looking at applications all the way up and down the stack, web servers, application servers, monitoring, observability solutions. We really want the marketplace to be a way for you to find all of those things, really learn about them, understand them, and then very quickly, with a click, being able to deploy those to your clusters within DigitalOcean. As we move a little bit up the staircase to version 3 and 4, we want to add in the ability for our vendors to, in the marketplace and in open source projects, to really be able to generate revenue for themselves in different ways. So today, marketplace vendors and projects can generate revenue by selling licenses to their product, and then they manage that on their own. It's not done through the DigitalOcean platform today. And companies like Plesk, for example, who have a one-click application within our marketplace, they use this mechanism, but it's really sort of handled through them. And what we really want to do is actually integrate that whole experience over time so that you're a DigitalOcean customer, you're using marketplace applications. Some of them may be free applications, what the majority are today. Some may be free plus have upgrade options. We want to really make that experience for you as a developer really seamless, and for you as a vendor, we want to make that ability to list those kinds of applications and be able to generate revenue from those kinds of applications. We want to make that very, very simple in a DigitalOcean fashion as well. And then the last piece of the roadmap, if you really go to the upper right there, the smallest step of the stairs at the top, we have version 5.0. And we really want to make the marketplace a place where our vendors can create a canvas for their applications to really highlight what those applications are, what the benefit is, who they're for, and really provide that to the DigitalOcean community. Today, you saw in the demo, we have detail pages or app listing pages that show you everything you need to know about the app, but we think there's a lot more that we can do. We want to add things like video content, allowing vendors to bring more custom links, more merchandising to the table. So there's a lot of things that we're thinking about, and as we learn, as we see how the marketplace is used on both sides, we use that information to really inform this roadmap. So if you have any feedback on this, obviously feel free to reach out through community. I shared a link to our GitHub repo for marketplace partners. Certainly feel free to submit issues there. And we're just really happy to be able to build this with you and build this with the community. So that's all I have for roadmap. So let's move on to the next section here, which is the live AMA. So there are a few questions that came in during the demos, and so I did answer them in the chat window. They should be visible to you, so take a look if you haven't seen them. We have a few other questions as well that we wanted to quickly dive into, see if we can get you out a couple minutes before noon so you can go to lunch or your next meeting or whatever you're trying to do. So let me start into those and fire away. So one question, which I alluded to in the roadmap, is will DigitalOcean allow me to choose between virtual machines and Kubernetes for my one-click apps? And the answer to that, as I said before, is definitely yes. The teams are actively working on providing Kubernetes solutions through the marketplace, and you should see more in that department in the second half of the year. Next question is, will DigitalOcean have other popular SaaS tools and APIs that I want to use alongside my projects? And again, the answer is yes to that. The team is looking at the best way to provide those solutions and also which solutions to provide, right? There's a huge swath and universe of SaaS applications and third-party APIs that we can bring to the table. So really trying to figure out what the best approach is to that. So that should be coming soon, again, second half of the year as well. Another question about, hey, if I launch my one-click app on the marketplace, how else can DigitalOcean help me build, help my business grow, make my application revenue grow, et cetera? And one of the programs that DigitalOcean has had for several years, predating the marketplace, is our Hatch program. So if you Google for DigitalOcean Hatch, you can learn more about that program. But Hatch really provides a combination of DigitalOcean credits, educational programs, webinars like this, and really wraps it together into a community to really help you grow your business as an SMB or a startup. Next question, will Marketplace share reviews and ratings in the near future? So we do have plans to do that, although we don't have a specific date for when we would roll that out. We do want to make sure that when we roll out a ratings and reviews capability, that it keeps in mind the interests of the DigitalOcean developer as well as our vendors, right? We want to provide an open and fair platform for our vendors to be involved in. And so we really need to be very thoughtful in terms of how we would roll out and release a reviews and ratings functionality. It's definitely something that's on the radar though, and it's something we're looking at. And then the last question, how do I get my app listed on the marketplace, and does it have to be open source? So number one, it does not have to be open source, although we have a large population of open source applications, some of which we just talked about. So those are all available, but that's not limited to that. I also mentioned, for example, Plesk. Plesk is an application that is a kind of a platform to help you manage a large number of blogs, websites, etc. And that is not an open source app. And that's fine. We have open source, we have proprietary software. Really what we're trying to do is really optimize for how do we get the solutions that our customers are asking for, that developers are asking for, making sure that they can find them in the marketplace, regardless of whether they're open source or commercial software. In terms of how you get listed on the marketplace, it's pretty straightforward. If you just go to marketplace.digitalocean.com/vendors, we have instructions there, not only about how you can register to become a vendor, but then the steps you would need to take from there to really get your app up and live and listed in the marketplace. So with that, we don't have any other agenda items, and we can give you a few minutes back in your day. Really wanted to thank you again for all your time today. It was great to be able to hear these questions and also to share a little bit about how we're thinking about things. Again, keep the feedback coming. And as we said before, this AMA, as well as the rest of the webinar, will be available on demand in YouTube. We'll send out a link for that as well. And then the next step in this webinar series will go into more detail about how you as a potential vendor can get your application listed in the DigitalOcean marketplace. If you have any questions at all, reach out to your CSM for more information. They'd be happy to help, and they can loop me in or the rest of the team as necessary. Thanks again, and have a great day.